Hey friends, welcome back. It's the month of October. It is the month of all spooky, scary things. So I thought for today's cast album breakdown, we should look at one of the greatest horror story musicals of all time. It also happens to be my favorite musical of all time. I am, of course, talking about that masterful horror gothic thriller classic, Jekyll and Hyde. I love this musical. I'm so excited to break it down with you. But first, I need coffee. Jekyll and Hyde is without question my favorite musical. I am obviously a Jekyll and Hyde groupie. It is sometimes referred to as a cult classic, and I think it does fit that bill because a lot of the true fans of the musical Jekyll and Hyde refer to themselves as Jeckies, which I guess is kind of like Trekkies, but for Jekyll and Hyde. I love this musical. It was one of the first musicals that I owned a cast album to. I think I have burned through at least 3 copies of the CD from playing it so many times. I am very, very excited to dive into this one. So let's start right off the bat with the big ensemble number, Facade. One of the things that I absolutely am blown away by with this recording are the orchestrations. They have this epic sweeping feel to it, even in a pit that is actually a very, very small pit for a pop rock opera. And we get to hear the orchestrations right off the bat. There's just this really cool theme right at the beginning of Facade that the orchestra gets to play. Let's listen to it right here. Without question, Facade is what we would call a true exposition number. It basically lays out the entire theme of what we're going to be seeing in this musical. We get introduced to the different characters. This ensemble, the voices in this ensemble are so amazing. There's a moment where the highest tenor of the show sings "They're All in Cahoots," and honestly, it is one of the most impressive moments of any pop rock opera ensemble. Just listening to this guy hit this crazy high B flat, belting his face off right here. Wouldn't be surprised to find the thing that I really love about Facade is it is the first time that on the cast recording, we are introduced to the character of John Utterson, performed incredibly on this cast recording by George Merritt. We get to hear his incredible baritone sound, at which, it just shows the depth of his sound. It's just so beautiful and so powerful to listen to. He has that traditional classic sound, that traditional classical musical theater pop rock opera sound, and we get to hear him do that throughout this song, but I really love getting to hear it right away at the beginning.
And what's hiding inside behind all of our fears is our true self, locked inside the facade.
Right after Jekyll's trip to the Board of Governors, we get introduced to his beautiful fiancée, Emma Carew, who is played on this recording by Christy Ann Knoll, who just, I don't have words for Christy Ann Knoll's voice. Obviously, she's gone on to do a really big star turn recently in Dear Evan Hansen, but this is one of the first times where we really got introduced to her voice. I'm so glad that she's the Emma on this recording. And I'm also so excited that the DVD allows us to get to hear Andrea Rivette, who went on to replace Christy Ann Knoll and then also went out on tour. Because we have the DVD and the original Broadway cast recording with two different Emmas, we get to hear really what they wanted the character of Emma Carew to sound like. And there are some things that both of them do that are exactly the same. There are some things that they do that are different, but they both have just beautiful voices. And it is so, so cool to get to hear the differences between the two performances in a duet that is really musical theater, pop rock opera at its finest, Take Me As I Am. At the very, very tail end of the song, we get to hear a beautiful moment of two-part singing, which is really this pop rock opera era at its finest. We're getting to hear two different characters' versions of the same story. We get to hear them share their story with each other, singing it at the same time. We get to hear the different perspectives of the conversation. And this is something that we really do see in musical theater, especially in this area. We don't see the tight harmony that we saw of the Golden Age. We get to hear two different characters telling their version of the conversation, moments where they come together, moments where they're in agreement, and other times where they're blending together, times when they're dissonant. We get to hear the actual conversation between these two young people who are truly in love with each other, and hearing them process this whole situation. It's a beautiful example of the pop rock opera sound.
This is who
Take me as I am.
Jumping ahead a little bit, we have the song Good and Evil. Now, Good and Evil was a song that was put onto this cast recording. It was originally in the 1997 Broadway production, and it has since been pulled out. It was written as a replacement for the song Bring on the Men, and then after the Broadway production, Bring on the Men was put back into the show. I have to be honest and say, I prefer Good and Evil. I think it's a better song. I think it fits the show better. There's something about putting that theme right in our face again and having that really be what kind of entices Jekyll to actually decide that he's going to do the experiment on himself. I think it's a really beautiful song, and I am truly disappointed that it was cut. We get to hear Linda Eder for the first time in the role of Lucy Harris, and we get to hear just what an incredible belt this woman has. Obviously, at the time, Linda Eder and Frank Wildhorn were married, and so obviously he wrote this role for her. But wow, I love listening to her. I love how she uses her voice in this song to really paint the words. She pulls her way through the words. It's very snake-like, especially on the S's. There's a very strong, seductive quality to how she sings this song. A great example of how she pulls through those S's is on the text, "Evil's a curse," right here.
Good men maintain, evil's a curse.
The moment where Harris truly shines is at the end when she gets to belt the evil. And she just, this is Broadway belting at its finest, especially in this pop rock era of belting. Let's listen to her belt this incredible E-vowel right here.
And try to be evil and go.
The next big moment of the show, I would say it is the moment. This is the moment. Okay, if you expected me to talk about this show and not make a pun about that, you don't know me very well. This is the moment, I grew up, 8th grade Nate is geeking out over getting to talk about this song. I love this song. This is really the song that made me fall in love with this role, that and Confrontation, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But just this song on this recording, listening to it, this is a masterclass. This is what it means to be a dramatic tenor in the pop rock opera era. It just, this is a masterclass. If you are working on this song and you need to learn how to sing this role, this is the recording to listen to. Anyone else trying to do it can't hold a candle to what this recording is. I mean, just wow. A great example of what makes this a masterclass is how he modifies into the pop rock opera style belt, the real pop sound, when he modifies Becomes Mine right here.
And all I've lived for becomes mine.
Can we talk about for a second how he belts an vowel, an IH sound, especially on this?
This is the moment.
That's not easy. That's hard. That's skill. That's training. And sorry, Hasselhoff. No. Just no. This is why this recording is genius. When we get to the transformation, we hear the transition from Jekyll into Hyde. We don't just hear Jekyll, then Hyde. We hear him actually modifying his voice mid-lyric. Cause he's a genius. Cause he's a genius. Right here.
Suddenly, out of breath. What is this? Is this death? Suddenly, look at me. Can it be?
This sound, this distortion, sound familiar? The way he is doing this is the way Alex Brightman is doing this.
Hey folks, begging your pardon. Excuse me, sorry to barge in.
Everyone geeked out over the Beetlejuice voice. Why? Any actor that played Edward Hyde was doing it first. What I think is really, really cool is he plays with resonance. He's bringing his resonance farther back on things where they would go brighter, and he's doing the opposite on darker sounds so that he's able to maintain this voice, and you can hear how he manipulates through it. A very, very underappreciated moment in this show is the quintet between Dr. Jekyll, Emma, her father, and John Utterson. The song Your Work and Nothing More. I get chills every time I listen to it, and that starts off right away again with George Merritt's deep, beautiful baritone right at the beginning of the song.
You have your work and nothing more. You are possessed. What is your demon? You've never been this way before. You've lost a fire you built your dream on.
Then we get into the incredible 4-part section at the end where every single one of them has something to say, and they're all trying to agree on the same thing, and they're disjointed. You hear bits and pieces, it's fragmented, and it's supposed to be. So after about an hour into the show, we really get our first female power ballad, which is definitely something that Jekyll and Hyde is known for. The female roles in this show are incredible. And we did get to hear, like I said, Linda Eder sing a beautiful performance in Good and Evil. But now we really get to hear what she's capable of in the song Someone Like You. This is a masterclass. This is how you belt for contemporary musical theater, especially this pop rock opera era. You can hear her acting choices. You can feel every breath she takes. And she has this way of modifying when she needs to belt in a way that really disguises it, in a way that we wouldn't really even expect it on words. And she brightens vowels masterfully. Linda Eder has this incredible way of mixing to an E vowel. She does it so effortlessly, and you can hear her do it to absolute perfection on Feel So Alive right at the end of the song.
And I feel so alive.
I also love how she's able to pull out of her belt and into her mix at the very, very tail end of the song. It shows she has just absolute control over her instrument, and there's a reason why she is one of Broadway's greatest leading ladies of the pop rock opera era.
Loved me. Loved me.
Rounding out the end of Act 1, we have the Alive reprise. And we got to hear Hyde pop up in the Alive, like right after the transformation, but this one's scary. This one, you can listen to it and just feel this like visceral reaction to what is happening on stage. The belt that he uses here, the way he goes into I sounds like A-Y-E, like aye, Captain. Yes, I just went all SpongeBob on that, but you can hear how he's modifying into that sound, which is a really, really important thing with how decompressed his sound is, how low his larynx is, how covered his sound is. He's brightening those vowels so he's not shredding his voice. The moment right here is the perfect example as to why actors need to understand how sounds are created. It isn't about creating perfect technique, it's about creating sounds in a safe, healthy way. If you didn't understand how to manipulate the sounds created by your voice, you'd never be able to create something as just raw and powerful as the end of this song.
That's the feeling of being dead
Jumping into Act 2, we get to another beautifully written ensemble number of Murder, Murder. I love, again, the multi-part sounds. There's just something really sweeping epic during the funeral of the bishop. And again, the ensemble just knocks it out of the park. And the archbishop who is doing the funeral, this melodic line here, I love it. I love how he just like can pop up to that high note. It's belting, but it doesn't feel like, here, let me perform a belt for you. It really is just this like call out, cry out to the heavens for this prayer. Beautiful moment. Let's check it out right here.
Sweet death has taken this brave man from us. Friends, take what comfort that you can from us.
We go from this crazy epic number of the ensemble and the murders and like everything just like causing mayhem and chaos in the city of London, and then we like get dropped right into one of the most beautiful ballads ever written for the pop rock opera genre of musical theater. Once Upon a Dream is so simple. It's so beautiful. And it's a song that I see a lot of high schoolers work on in voice lessons, and rightfully we should. It's a beautiful entryway into this era of singing. The challenge that I see a lot of people have with this song is how simple it really is. This is legit pop rock opera singing. We do have to have that control over a more legit sound. Her vibrato Christiane Knoll's vibrato here is goals. Like if you as a young female singer are wanting to learn what true vibrato, especially for musical theater, should sound like, this is the sound you want.
When this all began.
She uses something called the soprano smile here. It's very reminiscent of the Julie Andrews style of singing. Her sound has this inner smile quality to it, which is very, very important, especially in this song, because it does allow us to hear a little bit of the feeling of hope. But that smile also allows her to kind of float between her registers and mix in a very effective way. That smiling feeling causes a very specific kind of lift in the soft palate, which allows for a very unique style of resonance that we don't always get if we really just do the lifting in the back of the mouth. So that lift that we get, almost feeling like you're biting into an apple, causes a little bit of flaring in the nostrils. We think of this a lot as a belting technique, but it actually is a really effective technique for sopranos to use when they're in this range of their voice. And we can hear Christiane use it flawlessly right here.
Once upon a dream, you were heaven sent to me.
We get to see Emma grow from this just young girl to a woman trying to decide, where does her life go? This man that she loves is doing things that she doesn't understand. And we're seeing her stand up for herself in this song, but also standing up for the love that she has for him. The next big song in the show that I want to talk about is the song In His Eyes. This song gets performed frequently for solo ensembles, college auditions, etc. It's actually a duet. I know the version that is in the Singers Music Theater anthologies is a solo. It's a beautiful version, but it is a duet. It is performed on this cast recording by probably two of the greatest voices Broadway has ever had. You can hear the feeling, the depth of concern that Christiane's character has here. You can hear it in her breaths.
And when I think of him,
Whereas you can feel the pain of not getting to be with the man that she loves in Linda Etter's voice when she sings this.
in his eyes I see a gentle glow, and that's where I'll be safe, I know.
I promised myself I was not going to gush about Linda Etter's belt through this entire video, but I think I'm going to fail miserably at that. An example that I talk about all the time with students when they're working on belting to understand really what belting should sound like and the colors that we get in belting is when Linda Etter sings this.
But sadly, I'm not wise. It's hard to talk away.
You can hear the just calling style sound. It's like she's calling across the room. She's not shouting, she's not screaming, it's not super loud. You just feel it coming from inside you. It's a brilliant, brilliant demonstration of belting technique. This is very quickly followed by the beautiful balance between these voices. The legit colors that appear in Knoll's voice compared to the true pop rock sound that is in Linda Etter's voice. And the balance between them is so, so beautiful. And this song, this show is written for the balance between these two sounds. The vocal techniques that they're using, to me, have always exemplified the kind of duality of the sounds that we have in musical theater. We have the more classical sound, we have the pop rock sound, but they can be put together. And they can be put together beautifully in this show, but they can also be put together beautifully in one person's voice. And this is a perfect example of a show where you should train to understand contemporary musical theater sound and classical sound. You should know how to do both so you can sing songs from shows like this.
Love is worth forgiving for. Now I realize lies everything worth living for is there in his
I would totally be remiss if I didn't talk about the next duet that follows, which is Dangerous Game. We get to see Hyde and Lucy singing this song together. And it's not that it's an overly challenging song, but what's so powerful is just the snarling that we hear in Hyde's voice.
Out of a mystery tale, the frightened princess doesn't know what to do.
His sound goes to this decompressed vocal fry. We get this like animalistic style growling in his sound, and then he takes that up into a belt. It's not an overly high belt by any means, but how he navigates it almost gives it this like howling style quality, like a wolf howling at the moon, which is definitely the overall aesthetic that we're supposed to get watching this scene in the show. And hearing him like howl his way through it, I think is a really effective way of examining belting in these style of moments. It's important to hear that belting does always have to have that kind of head voicey feel to it. That's what makes it a mix. We can hear that little color of that head voicey howl, even though we're in a lower part of his range, a part where we really don't need to hear head voice at all.
silence speaks loud and clear. All the words we don't want to hear.
I think without question the hardest song in this show is The Way Back. This is Jekyll's big kind of I gotta fix this song, and the stamina that the actor playing Jekyll and Hyde has to have to get to this moment of the show is insane. Like, there are video clips of David Hasselhoff talking about passing out. This is it. This is the song where he passed out. And rightfully so. If you haven't been kind of saving yourself for this song, you're gonna die. Like, that's just the way it is. Even though he played the role first, it's like you can hear him on this recording go, "Stand back, Hasselhoff. I got this."
I have got to carry
We get to the big 11 o'clock number of the show, A New Life, Lucy's kind of final moments of the show right before Hyde kills her. And this is Linda Eder, like, at the peak of what she's capable of. It just, you feel every single thing that she sings in this song. Someone Like You is an extremely overdone song. It gets sung for weddings, it gets sung for auditions. If you're really looking for a song to explore as Lucy, I would strongly recommend A New Life. I think it doesn't get done nearly as often, and I think there's so much more of a story to play, and a story that anyone can connect to, because this song is about hope. It's the hope of trying to push yourself to do something that you've never done before, something that you're scared of. And you can hear that hope in Linda Eder's voice. Every time she sings the word new, it has a different meaning. I love listening to how she can change one of the simplest of words every single time she sings, and it feels like she's singing about something totally different.
A new life, what I wouldn't give to have a new life.
Linda Eder has a very covered sound. And this is something that has been very, very useful for her. It is something that I would strongly recommend to younger singers as you're listening to this recording to play around with, but don't live there. I think Linda Eder was a great example of the transition from the darker, bigger, open style belting to as we transition into the brighter sound. And so if you're really going to be looking at how to sing this song or how to sing this style, I would recommend, yes, listen to Linda Eder, explore what she's doing, but then go and listen to Colleen Sexton's brighter placement, because I think really from a technique standpoint, it's easier to learn how to do Colleen's version than Linda Eder. Linda Eder had incredible control over that more covered sound, but we've transitioned a little bit away from that and a little bit more into Colleen Sexton's sound, which is a brighter sound, a little more user-friendly for roles like Elphaba or Eponine. So I would take that sound, learn how Linda Eder did what she did with that covered sound, play around with it, and then see how that transitioned into Colleen's sound, making it actually easier to sing because you don't have to use as low of a larynx to maintain that sound. That being said, Linda Eder's covered sound does not get in her way here. She modifies when she needs to. She brings in brighter sounds when she needs to. This is how you can tell she understands her voice. She knows how to get the sound out of her voice that she wants to have. I love how she modifies to a really bright A vowel in A Brand New Life. You can hear her go to that just true belt vowel right here.
Each day's a brand new
At the very, very end, that sustained life that she sings, that she just holds on forever and ever and ever. I mean, that's a thing in this show, right? People sustaining notes for as long as they possibly can. She does that beautifully, and you can hear the transition as she slides through that diphthong. She does that in a very effective place. She does that shift right as her vibrato kicks in. Pop rock opera has a delayed onset of vibrato, and you can hear her do that very, very masterfully at the end here on Life. Whole reason I want to play Jekyll and Hyde is the song Confrontation. The idea of playing both characters in one song, switching back and forth, to me has always been this like holy grail of performance. This is how the song should be performed. Anybody that is doing it with a projection or a body double, sorry, Broadway revival, but that's cheating. That's not how this song gets done. This is how the song gets done. Yeah, I don't care if you think hair flipping looks silly or cheesy, doesn't matter. This shows that the actor playing these dual roles has to understand how to use their voice, how to take care of their voice. This is musical theater athleticism at its finest. One thing that he does here that is really, really smart is as Jekyll gets kind of overtaken by Hyde, his sound weakens and he decompresses his voice. He lets the vocal folds come apart a little bit. And what's really effective in this is the intensity of Hyde has a lot of glottal attacks to it. The decompression that he builds into Jekyll allows that kind of release in between those intense moments. He builds in these moments of rest into singing Jekyll. Then, when Jekyll starts to get more complicated, he brings that decompressed sound into Hyde.
Can't you see it's over now? It's
One thing that really stood out to me when I was picking apart the recording this time is how he uses his E vowels to transition from character to character. The E vowel, the placement of the E vowel is the same between the two characters. You would think that Hyde's E vowel would actually sit a lot darker than Jekyll's because of how he sings most of Hyde's sound. However, the way he sings Hyde's E vowels uses a ton of twang. He actually uses a brighter placement for his E vowel for Hyde than he does for Dr. Jekyll. This allows him to switch back and forth between these two characters without putting a ton of strain on his voice.
Then you hide, set me free. Can't you see you are me? Now, deep inside, I am you. You are Hyde.
One thing that he started doing early in the show, which you can hear throughout the entire recording, is how fluid Hyde's placement is. He sometimes will have placement that's really far back in the throat. Sometimes he'll bring it really far forward. Sometimes he will like chew through his text. It'll be really mumbled. Sometimes it will have a very low larynx. Sometimes he will let it have the bright, really almost nerdy sound to his voice. This fluidity is so important so that when he has moments where he needs to really modify in confrontation, he's already established this is part of the color vocabulary that I'm using for this character. You won't even notice. When I say you're doing the magic trick early for your character, that's what I mean. This magic trick that makes this song work, he's been doing since we were introduced to Hyde during the transformation. There you go. There is my cast album breakdown of Jekyll and Hyde. I love this show. I'm sure my love for this show became very, very apparent during this breakdown. Do you love Jekyll and Hyde as much as I do? I would love to hear your thoughts. Comment down below. That's it for today's video. As always, actors, you're awesome. Be awesome, and I'll see you next time. Bye.